Welcome guys, always a pleasure and appreciate you checking out this video. Let's jump straight to the business with Anbernic's latest release, the RG35xx Plus, the upgrade of the RG35xx that was released not even a year ago, which has been voted by many people to be the best GB clone budget-friendly emulation dedicated handheld. Anbernic and a lot of companies have jumped on board, but Anbernic are known for their great products and have now added the cherry on top with their new Plus upgrade. So what's the difference to the original? Well, in a nutshell, the processor has been upgraded from a Cortex AP 1.0 GHz to a Cortex A5 1.5 GHz. The GPU was a SGX 544MP. Now we have a dual-core G31 MP2. The RAM also has a jump from a DDR3 256 MB to a DDR4 1GB. The biggest feature difference with the Plus now has a Wi-Fi built-in up to 5 GHz connectivity and a Bluetooth 4.2, which is awesome, so now we can get our favorite controllers all hooked up wirelessly. The battery also lasts longer, coming from a 2600 mAh jumping to a 3300 mAh, making this handheld the coolest budget-friendly for a shy of an extra £10 to the original RG35xx. The unboxing experience reminds me of the groovy looking RG Nano box with that gloss vinyl print on the front. And just to mention, unlike any other YouTubers out there, I do not get any of these handhelds sent to me from Anbernic for review purposes. I cough up my own funds as I'm just a big fan and hope to make supportive content for you lot. By all means, by hitting the like button and subscribe will help this channel, and of course you will find a purchase link in the description box below. In the box we also have ourselves another small box which is home to a USB-C charging cable. Please note it is not advised to use any fast charging plugs as the battery is not designed to accept this. And here we have it, the RG35xx Plus, looking and feeling great already, and mine came with a 64GB card, but more information on this coming soon in the video. Now for a quick look at the design. The base has a USB charging port which also acts as an OTG connectivity, and we got a headphone jack output. The left hand side then has the volume buttons placed at the top, and the right hand side has the power button, a tiny reset button, and then we got two SD card slots. One is home to run the OS, which means it's easy to switch up, and the bottom one acts as an extra storage slot. Now for the top section we have the power and access LED indicator with a mini HDMI port output. More on this feature coming soon. All the front facing buttons are rubber membrane, but I really do like this more rounded gloss finish when it comes to the A, B and X and Y buttons. Really adds a professional touch. They do have a light medium travel. They do remind me more like the buttons that feature on the more premium handheld, the RG405M. The start and select and menu buttons have a bit of a lesser travel than the XB, X and Y, but have a plastic built finish. I personally would have preferred if they were built with a rubber texture. Onto the back triggers, they are again micro switched with a light travel, with the L2 and R2 having a raised platform, making it much like the Etsy 3D printed design that we were getting released for the Miu Minis and the RG35xx, which was a much requested feature for that extra comfort. The plastic build quality is just like the original 35xx, with a slight rounded off build quality on the sides, which brings me to the next part of the video comparing this to the original. They are near of identical in size and width, but at the bottom with the USB-C port and headphone they are slightly closer to the one on the Plus. The power reset and SD card slots are all lined up just the same, but this time both of the power and reset buttons are slightly embossed into the shell. I believe this is to help any accidental triggering whilst you are traveling with this inside your pocket. The volume button has an indent in the middle section as well, where the OG just had a flat surface. Onto the back, the triggers are all lined up just the same, but as I did mention earlier, the L2 and R2 are designed very different. And also a feature that I do like is the RG35xx. You had to access the battery by removing all the screws around the case. But now with the Plus, it's designed a lot more simple by just adding that one screw. Onto the tippy top, the LED indicators are positioned the same as well as the micro HDMI, but it does have a slightly embossed design with the Plus. Now on to weighing these handhelds. The original was coming in at 182 grams, with the Plus now weighing in at 193. The screen on both of these handhelds are 3.5 inches IPS with 4 viewing angles, but I hope you can notice in this video the original 35xx handles the brightness at a higher level, making the image pop out further. The Plus handles a slighter darker tone, creating a fuller colour saturation, so it can be up just to personal preference. The sound quality from one mono speaker is pretty awesome, and here is a quick example. A feature that I love with handhelds is a video output capability, and these tiny aluminium shell mini HDMI adapters I found are really handy and work perfectly, which I do recommend picking up to add this great feature. We got ourselves a standard HD 1280 720p coming out. It would be nice to get a 1080p, and it is capable of doing so. With the stock OS, you are limited to its functionality with an auto stretch filling your screen when these games are designed to have a 4:3 ratio. The menu interface works with the widescreen, but these games I find a bit of a struggle to play. Trying to force the ratio into a integral scale or even by a 4:3 ratio via the retroact settings, it still forces the image to stretch. Connecting Bluetooth controllers that are compatible with this is very easy. Head to the settings tab and scroll down to Bluetooth settings, and then enable Bluetooth settings, and then head to search device. But before I do that, for a PS5 controller for example, pressing down the PS button and share button, it will then transmit to connect to a device. We got the blue flashing lights, so we're all good. And then head back to the handheld and press X to scan for more controllers, and this will pick it up in around 30 seconds. Nice, and we're all good. For some reason the X button is the back button and square on a PS5 controller is accept. You can also take advantage of the OTG USB-C connectivity, where an adapter is sold separately, and hook up compatible controllers via the USB. Here I've managed to get player 1 connected via Bluetooth, and then player 2 connected via a USB connectivity. Remember though, to use controllers you must be in the Game Zoom section, which is the first tab of the menu. I think it's awesome they have this separate section for playing games via the HDMI out. It is a shame though we do have a lack of options, and emulation cores are just not optimized. Another hint if you are new to the retro gaming emulation handheld scene is that the SD card that does come bundled with the handheld are poorly designed and are prone to corrupt at some point in the future. Best back it all up and transfer it all over to a better standard SD card. One poor design with this handheld is the lack of OTA update. Unfortunately, if you do head to the settings, there's no updating this handheld over the internet. You'll have to go direct to the website. But currently in the timing of this video, there is one update available which has fixed a known bug and some other minor features, but personally I will be looking out for a custom OS that most likely will be brought out by the same guy who brought the custom OS for the original RG35xx, which is Black Seraph. So keep an eye on this channel. Whenever that gets released, I will definitely do a short review and how to install video. Now in this section of the video, let's push out how good emulation can go with a couple of systems that were not playable on the original. First of all, for some reason there are no N64 ROMs included with the SD card bundle. So let's grab a couple of these ROMs and drag them over to the SD card. The folder structure is already done for you. Remember to safely remove this because that could cause some issues. And here we got N64 now available. Now of course we don't have the screen art scraped, though that feature to download via its new Wi-Fi feature would be awesome, but it's not now with us with this current OS. Mario 64 did start off to play very well with a stable FPS, but when it got busy those frame rates just dropped. And testing some Star Fox 64, it just become unplayable. But it would shoot up with a stable FPS at some minor points. I believe this is all down to the preset emulator. This could be fixed and probably will be fixed with something like a custom OS With PlayStation 1 games, you can change the settings to have a higher resolution, and a lot of these titles can run really well, but you are limited to its capability with its current core. It would be nice to get that Duck Station core, which runs PlayStation 1 games a lot better. With the Sega Dreamcast, Atomic Wave and Naomi arcade board that do use the same RetroArch core, they do output with half of the resolution, which doesn't really look that great. But when you go to RetroArch settings and then put it to the standard resolution of 640, there's a terrible screen tear. But when you do save this in RetroArch settings to the current core settings with that standard higher resolution, loading it back up does amend this. The titles that I tested for the Dreamcast were very playable, but you will experience some minor dips. So not perfect, but I'm sure for many this will be just fine. When it comes to PSP Ridge Racer, I find is a mid to high range game to test how this handles, and it's not very smooth at all. But I'm sure you will find better results with less demanding PSP titles. And I bet we'll get better results all around when we get our custom OS. This part of the video is for newcomers to have a quick introduction to Anbernic's Linux build interface. First, you are welcome to 6 icons, the first being Games Room, used for a video output mode, and then you got RA for RetroArch game mode, to load the same titles but have the options to load RetroArch settings. Then you have a favorite section where you can add titles by highlighting one of your favorite of your choice and pressing start. Then you have your history, which is the titles that you've been previously playing, and then a very handy search mode, which is great for digging through all these titles that you got on your SD card. Then we have settings. You can choose how long you have the lock screen to be activated, and then we have 5 brightness levels to choose from. A very handy interface test to test all the buttons on this device, which I did fail to mention earlier that this D-pad has a shorter travel than the original RG35xx and does come across slightly more comfortable than the original. The diagonal input triggering is very well built as well. Let's test all the buttons are all in working order, and we're all good. There are also not many languages to choose from, which is a bit unfortunate, and we do have a bunch of icon styles to select from. And we do have a very poor collection of background choices. We can also turn off that annoying accept click sound and clear settings. What we avoid is that clear core association, as that what tells which emulator to use for which game. By deleting that, you will not be able to load any games properly. And then we have the shutdown button, which I do recommend on how you turn off this device safely. There is also a Moonlight feature, which is an app that connects to your PC, so you can cast the image from your PC over to this handheld, a feature that I don't personally use, but it's great that it's there. You are fine with this handheld. Some of these titles on this pre-built SD card were not loaded up properly, or they are just flat out broken. So I do advise compiling your own ROM sets onto an SD card, but again using a more stable, well-built SD card. Another downside is that I could not manage to get my retro achievements going. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but personally that is a feature I really enjoy. I'm sure a fair few guys have managed to get this going. But all in all, this handheld is packed up and it's ready to go. But this can be a little bit better if you can get your own ROM set all on the SD card. Perhaps in the future get an improved OS and optimized cores with an OTA updater and built-in image scraper. I can say this could be the best dedicated emulation handheld that is a GBA clone. So again, if you like this video, hit that button. If you want to support the channel, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you lot on my next video.